My list for this podcast, one note of which there's only two. I prepped earlier today while I was working, and it just says funny story. And
Great.
then my second point I'll talk later, but my sticky note says funny story and being a bitch. So that's
I
my
think
list for
that
today.
is the name of this episode, and we just started. So
One funny story and being a bitch.
classic.
All right, we'll post that later. Welcome, everyone. This is Fuck Wellness, a podcast that we couldn't tell you exactly what it's about in a quick pitch, but it's a podcast.
That it is.
It's really a friendship conversation where we unpack ourselves.
An ongoing unpacking of
Yeah.
life.
Culture, society, feelings, emotions, norms.
All the things.
I think that's our most succinct description.
Yeah, wow.
Ever had.
Let's listen back and write that down or something.
I feel like that's a good pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, dear media, where you at?
Okay, friends, how are we doing today?
How are you, Laura?
Mal, I want you to go first.
I am unwell.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a tough night last night, a lot of crying, and I woke up today very emotionally exhausted, but after you have a good cry where your like eyes kind of ache all day,
Yeah.
and that's how it was all day, and I just felt so like eepy all day, like a noodle. So, yeah, like I'm fine, but I just feel like I'm about 25% of my normal self. And then my mom basically had an intervention with me yesterday about how I'm too busy. And
Oh.
you guys are like, yeah, we're in on this. And this is actually our intervention. So then I had a bit of an
And Jean,
existential
welcome.
crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally
we're about
mom
to
pops
admit
on the
Jean.
screen. No, it was all stuff I know. But it was a little bit more. She was pushing a little bit more than I think she usually does, like in the urgency, which I appreciated. So I had a bit of an existential crisis after that. You'll see my newsletters this week. So yeah, I feel like I'm in emotional turmoil.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like of a full battery, you're maybe at what, a 27%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I won't be speaking about any of it today. So
that's all Mallory will be saying the whole podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to hop off now. So good chat with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan like pops up like, wait, are you already leaving? Anyway. Okay, Laura, how are you?
Wait, sorry. Can we just come back to the conversation?
About me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
no. We can.
Okay.
Never mind. I mean, I feel like I want in the busyness conversation. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
I'm just gonna express our support in that journey for you. And both of us have gently talked to you about that also before, and you are very self-aware. And I don't know, we were just talking like when you're here maybe about how I feel like there's gonna be like a big restructuring of your life in the next 2 years. And I think
you've been saying that for a bit.
I think that the busyness is part of it.
Yeah, I wrote in my newsletter that the hardest part for me is not necessarily the cutting things out of my life, but it's the not refilling that space with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think throughout my life, I haven't been great at like cutting things out, but I haven't been bad at it. That's not usually where I struggle. It's that I cut something out and then I just fill it with something else. I'm bad at the creating space for nothing or for rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was telling Ryan yesterday, I think the problem is that if we're talking about behavior change theory, I don't really have the competence to change because I don't know what life looks like without, like, unlike how it is now. Really.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And, my mom challenged me to do a cost joy analysis, like cost, AKA like how much it literally financially costs me, how much time it takes and the energy it takes, and then create a chart where the y axis is joy, and like plot all the things I do on there. And I thought it'd be more helpful, but like everything I do brings me a lot of joy. So that was a little bit harder, but yeah.
I
Anyway,
am excited for another day when you have a little bit of space from your current maybe way of being right now, because it's just like not always helpful to talk about it when it's so tender. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to kind of talk about this at a later date and see how you're feeling, because for someone who also struggled with like this just like heavy grind in different ways than I think that you do, Mal, but similar themes, it's a really hard thing to allow your nervous system to rest.
Mhm.
Like it's
what does that
not.
feel like?
And I'm hearing all these really great tools about how to change habits and all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a nervous system thing. It's
Mhm.
not like it's with all those things, we're still controlling all these external factors, which can help set us up for maybe this is kind of a binary, but like success or failure with our nervous system in terms of letting it calm down a bit. Um, so I'm just interested to watch you navigate that.
Should we do a 90-day dinner about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
April
should.
is about to have like 7 90-day dinners.
Every week we're having a 90-day dinner.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Well,
Literally,
you'll read my newsletter and you can see into my brain.
I'm excited for that.
but like literally thank God, McKenna, that you're here and that McKenna will become a great therapist one day, because I feel like Mal, you and I right now are in the middle of like, because my my piece of advice that I was gonna say was like, well, just go in your calendar and block off the time and force yourself to rest, basically. Like because
I
I
think that's
was,
part of it though.
I know, yeah. Well, we were talking about Dr. Becky a few weeks back on the podcast, and I've continued to listen to podcast episodes with Dr. Becky. And I think she even talks about this a little bit on the podcast that we were talking about rage, where
I did listen to it, by the way.
Did
oh,
you
okay.
like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Is this on the pod where she talks about like moms, if they are struggling to like have the moment by themselves or taking time for themselves, that they block it off in their calendar and say, do not reschedule or cancel
Yeah.
me or whatever?
Mhm.
She talks further about that, for people who kind of might see that and be like, oh, well, just this one time, or, it's no biggie if I just whatever this one time.
My life, yeah.
Yeah, that you have to have like a control person. So if I wanted to cancel my 3-hour block on a Sunday where I had nothing, I would have to check in with you, Mal, and be like, I want to cancel this. Like, and you would like have a back and forth with me about like, well, what is it that you actually want to do? Can we save that for Monday? Why are you avoiding time by
Like an
yourself?
accountability partner.
Exactly. Um, and so I've been thinking about that. But
Yeah.
no, totally. I think it's just like
I mean, I think part of
so
it is also like the Google Calendar holds like it is helpful, but it's also a band-aid,
yeah.
like in a way. And I write about that in my newsletter, how like there's something deeper that is preventing me from never creating the space.
Mhm.
And until I get to that, I'm just gonna do a bunch of band-aids, which is like fine now, but
Yeah.
But I
yeah,
think
it's
it's
hard.
it could be seen as a band-aid, or it could also be seen as a stepping stone. Like you're never going to get to that moment where it's like, okay, I'm just going to sit for an hour and try and figure out the exact root of the problem here or the root
No.
of the situation. Like for me, for so long I had to block that time, and I noticed that when I was then in that time, I was so uncomfortable. There was so much discomfort. And even if I was physically resting, like on the couch watching a movie, my mind was not resting. Like it was not present. It was kind of like honestly feeling almost impossible to disconnect or rest or whatever. So there's tools that I have used, like the calendar or like naming that I really want downtime, sometimes an edible, like these things that are really like I can use to my discretion to help that process. And I
Mhm.
feel like just now in the last literally month, I feel like I've been able to truly deeply rest without this like wave of anxiety that I'm missing something coming over me.
Yeah.
But
I also feel like within the last month, Ken, you've had to voice to me like I'm resting right now and I'm having a really hard time.
yeah.
Like just voicing of like I'm trying to rest today and it's really, really, really fucking hard. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
because just I don't know, breathing a little voice into it could make it.
Yeah, not as such of a big of a monster.
Yeah.
But Mal, you're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear Ryan and my mom yell at each other on the phone? Not yell out of hate, but just they're both talking so loud at each other right now on the phone. That's why I'm muting. Anyway, okay, you guys should keep talking though, because Ryan has the loudest voice in the world. So we're gonna have to mute for a minute.
Okay, Laura, hit us with your updates.
Okay. My update is that I'm working at Trader Joe's still. She's still slinging Joe's goods. I had a really, really hard week last week at work because I think it's just like I'm having like this moment of like I know that I really like working at Trader Joe's. I can't keep working there as many hours as I am each week because my body can't handle it. But then also what is the antidote to that? Is it like getting another service type of job, getting a more big girl quote, heavy sarcastic quote job? Like, is it like really, really like pushing myself with tattoos? And I feel like it is the tattoo option. Like, it's always been, and the universe keeps just like angling me towards that option. But it's been really hard. And I'm excited because I'm talking to one of my friends who I did my course with, and she's absolutely killing it. Like she just did guest spots in London and Paris and all these places. And I was just talking to her like I'm so struggling with just stepping in fully to trying to do this. Um, and I think that Trader Joe's is again a band-aid to like the situation at hand, and it's a band-aid that is quickly falling off because my body is just my back mostly is just so messed up, especially last week. I was on my period, and the first few days of my period, like my body just feels like a sensitive little water balloon that is so like half deflated, leaking out many ends.
That's the
Like
best metaphor I've ever heard for how it feels on the first couple of days of your period.
literally.
A half deflated water balloon. Yeah, it's
It
so
feels
true.
so sensitive. And like I was I feel like in the past, I know what my body feels like during that time. I take it easy. I try and like lower physical stuff, really give myself rest. And it just wasn't possible with work. Like I still had to go to work. I still had to do physical labor and I was having a hard time. Like my body just hurt. Um, Feeling much better this week, thank goodness. But yeah, that's kind of my update. Oh, I am doing one really fun thing. I'm um tattooing at a Valentine's Day party that my friend's friend is hosting. Um my friend is also coming to dinner tomorrow. I forgot to tell you.
You want dinner tomorrow?
She's just coming to have
Oh,
dinner
I
at
see,
our
I
house.
see, I see.
We're not going anywhere, no worries. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm gonna do some cute Valentine's Day flash at her party.
Laura, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
No. It's really like it's a curiosity question, not a leading question. I'm
Okay.
just curious from your perspective right now, like what would committing fully to tattoo look like for you?
Hmm. It would look like me finally, I mean, step one, finally buying myself like the rest of my equipment. Like I have all my equipment mostly. I can give tattoos. It's just like my life would be easier if I finished my setup. So I think it'd be investing in that, really setting up my station in the house, um, asking for help in setting up like Acuity and like a scheduling software. Um, and then just like drawing my little booty off and really marketing myself on social media. Yeah.
So saying that out loud, like what emotions are coming up for you?
Immediately I was like, Laura, it's literally not even that hard. Like I was like, why aren't you doing that? And it's hard to say it out loud because I'm like, yeah, those steps, like I could I could do that. Like I could set time after work or on my weekend to like check all those boxes. But then I don't know, when push comes to shove and I get home from work and I'm like, oh my God, the idea of doing one thing or picking up one extra thing makes my whole being just crumple. Um, but I think that, you know, I I'm glad that it's Trader Joe's because I think if I was working some 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, it would be even harder. So it'd be easier financially to do some stuff, but I think that time is definitely also a limited resource right now. Um, yeah, but that was good of me to talk about.
Can I come for you a little bit now too?
Okay.
Um, okay, so you guys are gonna despise me at the end of this episode because I just feel like I'm like, Mal, this is how you should live your life.
No,
No.
McKenna, you're doing some great motivational interviewing. I just want to say A plus
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Mal really already hit the nail on the head with which is where I was gonna go. But from my perspective, in terms of like your current situation, a a quick background. With all things in my life, especially with those that are really close to me, there's always kind of like an energetic um like no, dissection that I do just kind of naturally with my own choices in my day to day with my friends, like my close friends' choices. And a lot of time there's nothing that like sticks out to me so like a big spike that I need to tell Mal something or Laura something because a lot of times they're really just like in control of their lives in a powerful way. And I feel like recently, obviously, Laura, you've been having a harder time. And so I feel like I've just kind of been feeling the rumblings of your harder time in a way of like, I wish that I could take some of that weight off. But a lot of the weight feels like it's pressure to push you into kind of some deeper discoveries in a way.
I just want to say, for those of you who cannot see what they're doing, they said no in unison together to Douglas and made the same exact face of like, no, at the same time. And I just want to say, I couldn't hear them, but I knew exactly what tone it was. That was funny.
He hears the neighbor's dog barking, so he's a little chatty. But
And you're right. We said it exactly the
yeah,
same in the exact tone.
Douglas. So, anyways,
No.
these rumblings. You're watching our disappointed mom faces.
I'm dead. Oh, I think we should just cut that part and put it on Instagram. That is my favorite part of this episode.
That's funny. Um, Watching parenting in action.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's kind of like this thing as a friend where I'm like, what can I do to help? What can I do to like change things or ideas or whatever it is? But every action that I go to feels kind of wrong because it feels like the root of what needs to happen. And this is not perfect, and it doesn't mean that like there's not external circumstances that are so real, like your body hurting at TJ's or all these things. But I feel like what you're missing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like really sinking your teeth and holding on to a vision of what you want, whether that's a 9 to 5, whether that's Trader Joe's, like whether that's tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the energy I'm feeling from you sometimes is just like, well, we're going to kind of like float through this until something better, or someone's going to hand me a job and I'm just going to say yes, even though I don't really want to do it. Or like these things where it's kind of like you're letting the fucking wind like beat the shit out of you when but you're not kind of putting a foot down and being like, no, like I'm in this. It can be a little bit windy, but I can be grounded here and I can grab onto something and kind of firmly say, like, this is what I'm working towards. And maybe that would help a little bit. I don't know.
These metaphors today, 10 out of 10. That was a beautiful metaphor, McKenna.
No, I feel like that. I feel like I'm in a windstorm, but it's also like a windy river. And I'm just like, and yeah, I think it's just, I'm just like scared for some reason. I mean, for many
For
reasons.
some reason, it
Yeah.
makes sense to be scared.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I think I've been really noticing though that like I kind of feel like I sometimes think that social media doesn't affect me so much because I'm like, oh, like I don't have like a huge problem with like scrolling TikTok or whatever, but there's definitely been like an uptick in my critical commentary now that my algorithm knows that I do tattoos and that tattoos are all that I want to look at on Instagram because it's just like all these artists that I'm just like, oh, well, my tattoos don't look like that. Oh, well, I'm not even an artist. Oh my God, why would I think I could ever do architecture school? I'm not even an artist. Oh my God, why, blah, 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 blah. Like just all over the place. Um, so yeah, it's hard. Also, I think that the the like I appreciate you noticing that, I think, Ken, and like kind of letting me like figure my shit out because I think it is me who has to do all of it. I think that it is also really hard right now just because I have family members that have very opinionated takes about my life. Um, and yeah, I think I'm heavily influenced by other people who have strong ideas because I get passionate about strong ideas when they're like presented to me because I think I can see myself, taking up 31 different lives in this lifetime and like having a great time doing all 31. And it's really hard for me to be like, no, I know that this one is the ticket, the golden ticket.
Did you ever read The Midnight Library?
No.
Oh, that's sort of the concept of the book, which is it's kind of sad.
Okay.
But no, like the summary of it is that this character like is grieving all of these lives that she could have lived. And
Mm.
then and then part of the book is that she gets to go live them and then she just realizes she wants the one that she had the whole time.
Yeah.
And um yeah, I don't know. I think I totally feel you on that. I think it's hard to look around and be like, I could be a park ranger and I would be so freaking good
Yeah.
at it. Or like seeing all these different things. I could run an abortion fund. I'd be so good at that and be like, well, I only really get to commit fully to one, which isn't totally true, but there is limited time and capacity in our lives. And yeah, I think Yeah, what you're feeling is not unique, but it is still intense.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny too, because like when I was going through this in a similar way of like, oh, you have now this new full-time job, but do you want two more nanny jobs? And then do you want two more coaching jobs? And me just being so stressed and overwhelmed and flooded with everything all the time and just being like, yes, yep, okay, I got it, I can do that. And you kind of being like, whoa, like maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Like it was so easy for you to see that within me because that was also a moment where I was floating between so many different things and was never firm about this is my standard to doing business with me or being engaged with me or
Mhm.
employing me. And I was just kind of letting it like be the fish in the water, but I couldn't swim, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I think that it's easy to recognize in other people. And for my like speaking on my experience, you can't discount the weight of those deeply held beliefs that are so tucked in deep inside of yourself, like for Mao's busyness or this job for you, or maybe people wanting certain things for you. Like that shit is deep. Like it's
Mhm.
not just like, oh, this is a situation that's happening. It's like in my core deep, it's part of my internal dialogue deep,
Yeah.
whether it's conscious or not. And so I think that's a huge factor.
Oh my god, yeah.
And sometimes, like, you don't have to know what you want. You just have to know the next best thing to do. Like, right now, am I going to work my job for the next 10 years? I don't know. I would love to be a therapist one day. But right now, my job is giving me time and freedom and growth and opportunities to expand in ways I could never imagine.
Yeah.
And so I value that and my freedom in terms of just every part of it and my autonomy more than maybe the sacrifice that grad school would require at the moment.
Yeah.
I love the next best thing motto. Ryan and I always talk about that because it sometimes it feels like there's unlimited choices or unlimited decisions, and
Mhm.
thinking about the next best thing, it is it feels pretty intuitive. Like usually it's pretty easy to be like, what feels like the
Mm.
next best thing? Um, and even if it's scary or uncomfortable, it's sometimes it's easy to identify what that is. And it can be the smallest step.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, for us, the next best thing is moving to a different apartment. But again, we're starting very small in that by just touring. And I think back to McKenna talking about this, where you just take one step that feels the best and then you see how it feels. And then if it doesn't feel good, you take a step back and you try a different path. And so those are all versions of like little mini next best step.
Yeah.
An example for me would be a next best step was taking that 60-hour certification course before diving into grad school.
Hmm.
But it can also be something small like I was feeling overwhelmed with um like my social media, and so the next best step instead of like deleting everything off my phone was that I don't go on TikTok during the week anymore. Like just it can be that small too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy shit.
But you also are doing a very good job. Like this is not something that any life discovery or things that we're working through doesn't have to be done overnight. My therapist always says that slow healing is fast healing. And I think that's so beautiful because it's true.
Yeah, and I don't think you can overstate how hard it is to make decisions when your body's in pain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you're dealing with a lot of these decisions and your body is just hurting constantly, which is just an added thick layer of like something that is impacting you too. So,
And if we look at it on a really broad scale with your life, it was like we talked about your timeline before, but it's like Coast Guard, job, Michigan, rowing, Colorado, really rushing for a job, find a job, also really hard, that job. And then it was like scramble for the move, now we're here and it's like scramble for a job. Like, when have you even had that time to be like, like, what do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like on a little treadmill. You're like a little
Yeah.
guinea pig on a treadmill.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of we've been killing it with the metaphors this whole this whole ep, but watch me take one too far, okay?
Okay, let's hear.
So you know those like little sliders at the gym? Or I guess you could do ice skates. But it
Yeah.
feels like I'm not even wearing ice skates on ice. It feels like I'm in like not properly equipped to be on the ice rink that I'm on. So I'm just on like these little sliders and I'm just like sliding every which way. But I think that like kind of like my life has had lots of different twists and turns. And I think that it is like my primary coping mechanism to just be very like I've been learning about Enneagrams. It's just to be very Enneagram 9, even though I don't think I'm a 9, but just to be kind of like, right? 9 is like the chiller.
I don't know.
I think just whoever is very like, okay, sit back and see what happens. Like, I think that that's how I cope. Um, but I also think that there are other parts of my life, i.e., with like friendship and relationship, where I'm very clear on what I want. And I'm actually very like vocal about it. And those spaces are the ones where I am able to stand up and say, like, actually, like, this ain't it. Or like to have my attention, you must be acting in this way and not in this way. Whereas with work stuff, I think it's so much more like, I don't know, follow the money because you need it.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's happened.
No wonder you have back pain.
Yeah,
Sliders on an ice on a
I'm
on
sliding.
an
I'm
ice court.
sliding around.
Yeah, that would be painful.
Something too here though that like I love that about you where you have an ability that I don't embody where you're able to have such calm and peace through some of these transitions or through your days or in a way that it's like I feel like I'm feeling rushed all of the time and I feel like when you walk through the door I'm like, "Okay, wait, why am I feeling rushed right now?" Like there are really amazing qualities that you embody that I envy a lot. And sometimes like for me, like those like really intense qualities of feeling rushed or whatever can sometimes help me in some ways and sometimes are a detriment in other ways. And I feel like similar to you, but now when I'm thinking about these things, it's like we don't have to heal through changing that core component of ourselves. We can heal through something like that, right? Through that calm, like flowy expression. There's
Mhm.
no like checklist of how to come to certain conclusions or to make a stand and like put your foot into the ground and say what you want, right?
Yeah, because that would feel very foreign to all of a sudden be like, ah.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna like switch personalities in this way.
Yeah.
But there's a way to kind of control, like take that power that you have and control it rather than letting it kind of like wrap you up into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, McKenna.
Okay, McKenna, talk to us about being a bitch.
Well, I don't really have much today.
I want to plug us in, right?
Yeah.
This one?
hmm I just wrote down being a
Funny
bitch in my
story.
what? My
Funny
funny
story
story.
and being a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. I remembered what the funny story was.
Oh, yay.
And I'll tell you guys later, but there's like it's
Wow.
all,
not
all we wanted to
Tease.
say on the pod was that McKenna has a funny story for just us three. Yay.
no, no, no. I'll tell
Thanks
it
for
on the pod.
listening.
But I'm on the train of being a bitch right now, so I have to keep with that.
Okay.
But with Douglas's training, one of the things that in San Francisco that I really had to work on is if I can't pass a dog or its owner in a way that just keeps my dog controlled and separate from their dog. Like let's say one of the many times during the week that Douglas is charged by off leash dogs and growled at. Um, I have needed to get better at setting boundaries of like, can just people letting their dog come up and or something and being like, like, no, thank you, or just kind of saying things like, he can't say hi, like, we're training, whatever it is. Sometimes he can, sometimes we're specifically working on him not engaging with people.
Yeah.
And like today, I felt bad, but someone who lives close by and a dog that we know came by, but the dog was like barking and lunging at Douglas and just like whatever. And its owner was like, "Oh, well, they want to say hi." And I was like, "He can't today." And I was like, "I'm training." And I felt so bad for saying that because I'm just so scared to say it in everyday life, but it's so silly. And I've been thinking about it since it happened of like, well, this person's going to think I'm a bitch now. And so that's my bitch story.
Yeah, this is such a dog mom thing. I feel the same way. More like when people
Hard.
just come up and try to pet Fitz right away, and I
Yeah.
have to say, "Do you want your fingers bitten off?" Okay, if not, I'd back away. Um, but yeah, it's really hard to set those boundaries. It's like, yeah, very,
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah, boundaries are my burden to bear right now in my own
Yeah.
personal life and in Douglas's because I'm in charge of his boundaries. So,
Yeah, which is a whole other layer. Like, I
yeah,
think becoming a dog mom, I was like, wow, Fitz can't advocate for himself. Like,
totally.
outside of growling and barking, it's like he has no way of advocating. And so if someone is making him uncomfortable, I'm the only person that can, make the situation better for him.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny because I think that people are just so weird about dogs. And I can say that because I used to be extremely weird about dogs, like in a way that I thought that a dog was like this pure little baby that could never hurt me. And like I used to like just like my dad does this to this day and I tell him like you're about to get your face bitten off, but like just immediately being like can I, and I always ask. Like I'm always like I've been always been an asker, but if they're like, "Yeah, go ahead, pet my dog." Just being very trusting of that. And I don't know, like people, oh my god, wait. There was this person who came into the store and was shopping with their dog. And this other person who did not know the owner or the dog started following the dog around the store, like crouching down
Oh,
and like playing with the dog. And I literally was just looking and giving like the most disgusted face ever because I just like people are so weird. Like,
yeah.
and dogs are just like this little green light for everyone to be like, show your weirdness, like, come up to people, blow past, you know, parts of life where there needs to be consent.
Mhm.
Blow past it because it's a dog. It's
Mhm.
like, no, there's still a question that needs to be asked. Can I come into your space? Can my dog come into your dog space? Like, there still has to be a back and forth. And I have felt so much rage. I can't imagine what McKenna's been feeling. But just when I am with Douglas and when a dog like runs for Douglas or runs for me, or like the owner is just on their phone or talking to a friend or completely oblivious to the fact that, yes, their dog might be really nice and sociable. You have no idea how Douglas will react. You have no idea my past with dogs or what, like anything about that. Like, people are so
Yeah.
weird.
It's really, really, really bizarre. And I mean, even thinking about like, oh, having babies one day, it's the same thing of like,
Same thing.
yeah, I would then be in charge of setting a boundary that sometimes are hard. A friend doing something with my kid that I don't want to happen, right? Or like a family member saying something or what, it's
Mhm.
just hard stuff. And sometimes it feels easier just to be like, well, that was just one moment. Like, we're going to move on. But then the one moments turn into hundreds of moments. And now Douglas is having a hard time because these one moments here and there added up. And so, yeah, working through that has been a big deal.
like, for example, when you have your kid, if I try to teach your kid evolution,
Right. Exactly.
just as an example.
Yeah. Off the top of our head. Yeah.
Is that
If
a
you even
contentious issue right now?
Yeah.
if you even think about showing them planet Earth, our life on planet Earth,
Privilege is revoked.
no TV, no screen time. Speaking of children, this was my note. Instead of saying funny story, it actually says furry story. And the reason it says that is because on my TikTok allowed time this weekend, I saw a video of someone basically who was like really into wearing tails as a kid, and which is like fine, whatever. I have previously not been kind to the furry community in terms of how I would handle that if my child decided to be, sorry, not decided, if my child identified as a furry.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing some inner work on this.
Yeah.
And I have realized that I need to accept my future child for whatever they choose to be. Sorry, whoever they are. Fuck my life.
You're really catching yourself quick, though.
Yeah, I know. Because it was a firsthand account of this person who used to love wearing tails and kind of just likened it to being really imaginative. And for me, I haven't ever equated like play and adventure and imagination with a furry because I've had my own experiences with furries, many of them. And so
What?
Can you
yeah.
describe what a furry is? Because I'm just thinking about my parents and they will not know what a furry is.
I'm scared to be able to
Laurie, feel free to jump in if you want
Do
to
you want
take
me
this
to-
one.
yeah, let's consult Google for actually what this is, what the furries would prefer to be
How they would
described as.
self-describe, yeah.
Yes, and I want to say that I was exposed to furries as a child when the furries were adults, and it was not always the best experience because sometimes it felt a little bit like um it just didn't feel like children should be part of this specific experience because oftentimes there was also people with the furries that were dressed in a very specific way that just wasn't something that I would like choose to and expose an 11-year-old to specifically. So
Do we want this article from 2015 on
yeah.
Fox? Okay. So this is 8 questions about furries that you might be wondering. Is being a furry just a sexual fetish? No. Though,
Yeah.
though, like with any other fan interest, there are sexual themes present.
So the sexual themes is what I was witnessing as a child.
And while sexual activity with other furries is known as yiffing, after the sound that foxes make during sex,
Laura, stop it.
sorry, I'm just.
We're an accepting group, okay?
I'm
We're learning.
I
We're
never
learning.
say that word. During sex, it is part of subculture for some. Others maintain a non-erotic interest in the subject. Great.
Yeah.
Totally. And I have actually stumbled into a furry con once. Um, it was a lot. I think I was like 15 or something.
This is what I'm saying. Every year I witnessed a furry con for like 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, because
Where?
I told Mal this in San Jose. Every single year, my volleyball team would go to the tournament there, and every single year it was also the fur con.
Wow. Okay, so what is
Wait,
a
what are
furry
the
then?
yeah, I was gonna be like, what are the other FAQs?
In the broadest sense, a furry is someone with an interest in anthropomorphized animals. That is, animals who have been given human characteristics like an ability to talk or walk on their hind legs. So Douglas is kind of a furry because he can walk on his hind legs. And your child is Douglas. So dream come true.
Yep. Hmm.
the furry character is also known as the fursona.
Oh, like this is a good one. Similar to Sonic. Sonic, isn't it? Say that right there.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's an example potentially. Anyways, you guys have Google. You can check some things out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Just
Um,
let us know what you think. And
This is
just
not a world I know anything about, but it's lovely how accepting you are,
we are
McKenna.
both highly accepting.
once and for all, let's just make that so clear. If our future children are listening to this one day in the archives of podcasts, we accept you for whoever you are.
Yeah, and anyone who is interested in this, we also accept you for who you are. I think it's also like just I don't know, the Venn diagram of like childhood, like I don't know, I guess not childhood stuff, but like when adults get really, really into like something that might be seen as a way that isn't like, societally accepted as getting into as an adult, it's like, whoa, 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 you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that your furry story?
That's my furry story, everyone. So I hope
Nice.
that you like that. What are you doing, Mel?
I was just doing some nose taps.
Oh, that makes sense. I have two other quick things to share.
Mhm.
Okay.
One of them, Mal, I think you're going to relate to heavily, and also Laura. Similar to how Laura was saying last week on her period, she was feeling so sensitive. Well, I've been tracking my cycle, and I realized that the week before my period, I am just uncontrollably anxious, like uncontrollably. And now that I have a little bit more of a stableness in my life with my mental health, it's now easier to be like, oh, I wasn't anxious all month until right now. So that's point one. Point two, right before about to get my period, which is going to be in the next 2 days, I get so sensitive and sensitive to everything: noise, light, all the normal sensitive feelings, crying, all those things. But today on my walk in the morning, the overstimulation was almost unbearable, to the point where I was like, a garbage truck would go off and I'd like jump. I just could like hear every noise in like a 1 mile radius. It felt like I was like, did I develop superhuman hearing overnight? Is what it felt like. And then I realized that's probably what Douglas feels like all the time. And having a
Yeah.
reactive dog, I feel like has taught me so much more patience about myself, of like, previously maybe I would have just powered through a situation like that, but now I'm like, oh, I understand that why Douglas would have big reactions if his entire world is superhuman hearing, which it is, right?
Mhm.
And then you're in this city where there's like cars slamming and kids laughing and running and dogs off leash and garbage trucks everywhere, and it's a little bit windy, and there's all these things that impact.
And superhuman smelling.
Yes.
So they have all these smells and they have all these sounds. And then for Fitz, he's like a foot off the ground. So everything looks giant to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
Yeah.
super humanly attuned to your emotions. So whatever you're feeling, they're like, I got you, mama.
Yeah.
His nose is in my underwear right now.
Uh-oh.
Ew.
Not like on me, but like on the, on the bed.
Yeah. So that's all I have. I also just have two quick things that have really changed my life recently. And one of those we've talked about a lot. We learned it from Brooke Benson, but is scheduling a money date every week has been really helping my anxiety around being inadequate in the realm of financial literacy. So I do that for 30 minutes once a week, but then on top of that, I scheduled in an hour that I've been calling admin hour, and it's changed my life. Like fully changed my life, because I'll like go through my week and my head is always running, and I'll be like, "Oh, well, I have to look at this one website for this one jean that they haven't had my size in so long, I've just started to be like, okay, admin hour. And I just like push all these thoughts to the hour that I've allotted for this. And then once I get to the hour, I just bang through those bad boys. And it's like not taking so much mental space up in my brain. And I can actually like fucking focus for once in my life. And so that's just a new
When do you do them?
thing.
Like on your weekend or when?
No, I typically have them. My money date is on Tuesdays and my admin hours on Thursdays, but most weeks I have to reshuffle when they are based on like if I have too many meetings or if I just have too much work or if after work I'm too tired, whatever it is.
I love that idea so much that I just put it in my calendar.
I love that. And then
Because
I
I
just
need more things in my calendar, but
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
that's what
maybe
you're
I'm like the
doing.
one person who should not have an admin hour, but
yeah. But I feel like it's honestly it saved me time because I used to just do all of these things in such a scattered way. And because my brain is primed for repetitive thinking, it can be hard to focus sometimes. So this is a good way to help the unique way that my brain works.
I'm literally offloading things into the calendar invite right now.
Yes. And the other thing that I did was then I just linked I didn't link it, sorry. I renamed a to-do list. I put all my to-dos in one spot and I just called my to-do list admin hour. I was like, okay, then these things have to happen then. And just so everyone knows, I did all of this during one of my admin hours. So I wasn't even like exerting too much mental energy outside of that. So yeah. Bada
Is
bing,
that
bada
both of
boom.
your things?
Hold my things.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been lovely.
Yeah, this has been great.
Did we put a pep in your step, Mel?
No, but that's okay.
Is The Bachelor on tonight? Is it Bachelor season?
It is, but I don't have live TV, so I just watch it the day after.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Life will
So
go
what
on.
are
I've
we
been
looking forward to tonight for you?
reading a court of can I remember the names? Wings
Yeah.
and
Wings and
Ruin.
Fury? No, Rings
Wings
and
and
Ruin.
Ruin. Yeah, Mist and Fury, Wings and Ruin. Yeah, I'm reading that. That's bringing me a lot of joy. I
Okay.
love it. And then Ryan and I have been watching Young Sheldon, which is honestly
That
hysterical.
is
It's a good show.
you guys are the dream audience for Young Sheldon. If I had to
Literally.
draw
Well,
up, it would
because
be you guys.
Ryan is Young Sheldon, and so I think
Oh my
like
God.
I think it is very relatable to watch because I'm like, oh, this is so much like Ryan.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
More, he's definitely more like young Sheldon than adult Sheldon.
I don't know much about the show.
I highly recommend.
I've
Well,
never seen a
I
second
tried to
season.
get
commercial.
him. I listened to Dan Levy on We Can Do Hard Things. And then, they were talking all about Good Grief. And I was like, oh, Ryan, we should watch Good Grief. And then he watched the trailer and he said, too sad. We're watching Young Sheldon.
Oh, I loved Good Grief though.
No,
I
I'm
thought
going to watch it. I may need to do some work on him.
it wasn't as sad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It was much more just like tender and it felt like life.
Have you listened to that interview?
No, I really need to.
Oh, one of my favorites. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to eat my butternut squash pizza.
Okay.
Yum.
Well, love you. If you're having a hard day, just remember that it's gonna be okay.
We can do hard things.
Yes.
We get sued.
Not our motto. No TM.
Yeah, no TM.
Okay, bye.
Love
Okay,
ya.
bye.